this next playlist, we're going to look at how to divide by 10 or 100 or 1,000. And the same with times. It times by 10, 100 or 1,000. And when we are thinking about this, we have to think about moving our decimal point. So I've got the number 43, and I'm going to write it quite big at the moment. And when I'm thinking about this number, my first thing I have to think about is, where is my decimal point? Well, my decimal point isn't here or here. It's all at the end, just here. So that's where our decimal point starts. Now, when we divide by 10, all we do is move our decimal point. So, for example, if I've got 43 divided by 10, well, that is 4.3, because our decimal point's moved here. If I had 43 divided by 100, well, let's move it again. That'd be divided by 100. So that'd be just here. Now, we can have 0.43. Now, in our normal number system, we have to have some zeros. So it would be 0.43. And the 0, just up here at the top of the screen, and here, is a way of emphasising that this decimal point exists. So that now, I cover over that one which doesn't matter, because I've divided by 100. We have 43 divided by 100 is 0.43. Now again, I could move it again. So that'd be divide by 1,000. And the number of zeros, so 1 0 there, 2 zeros there, 3 zeros there, defines how many times we move our decimal point. So, I'm going to do it here. So 43 divided by 1,000. Well, 1, 2, 3 would be 0.043. I can move it again and divide by 10,000. There's 4 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a bit small. 1, 2, 3, 4 movements of our decimal point to here. Now, any gaps we have to fill with zeros. So, lots of zeros, any gaps you fill with zeros. So, 43 divided by 10,000 equals 0. So that 0 is the first 0, and then you've got 0.043. Now, if I'm actually just doing this myself, let's have a quick look at another one. And we've got to go for, say, 73 divided by 100. Well, what a lot of my students do is, we get to 73, we're going to have to move the decimal point twice. So it's currently there. We go 1, 2. So then, because we've moved it twice, we now know the decimal point's here, just before the 7, and you go 0.73. Or again, we could have something like 4.7 divided by 1,000. So we go, the decimal point's there, we move it once, twice, 3 times to here. Any gaps we have to fill. So we've got a 0 and a 0 and a 0 there. And then our answer would be 0.0047. So it's looking at moving our decimal point. And that's all we're doing with divides. Let's have one last go at divides, and I'm going to move on to looking at timesing, which is the same really. It's just moving in the opposite direction. So let's go for 0.42 divided by 100. Well, our decimal point's here. We're going to move it twice. So 1, 2. So our decimal point's now moved to there. And we fill in our gaps. So there's a gap there and a gap there. So our answer is 0.0042. So 0.42 divided by 100, you move decimal point twice, because there's 2 zeros here, and then we get 0.0042. Now let's have a look at multiplication with tens, hundreds, or thousands. Now let's think about, say, for example, 57 times 10. And now a lot of people have just been told to put a 0 on. And actually in this case we can. So 57 times 10 is 570. But a better way to think about it, especially when we've got other numbers which might not work by just putting a 0 on. So we have 57. And our decimal point here. Now when we were dividing, we moved our decimal point to the left. But this time we're going to move it to the right. To here. Now any gaps we have to fill with zeros. Boom. So that's why just putting a 0 at the end works in this sort of situation. Where it's the same sort of thing. But let's look at an example where it doesn't work. So let's do 8.7 times 100. Now, when we've got this number, 8.7, some people will just go, well, that equals 8.700, which is just wrong. In many ways, actually, we just have exactly the same number we just started with. 8.7 and 8.700 is the same number. So that's not the answer. What we have to do is move our decimal point. So we're going to move it to the right once, which would be times by 10, and then again, be times by 100. So our decimal point's now gone to that. And feel free when you're working out in an exam or in life, you can just do your work in here, or you can write the number out I'm doing here. Doesn't make much difference. And then you fill your gaps in with some zeros. So our 8.7 times 100, moved it twice, is actually 870. So again, it's just moving our decimal point. Have one last look at this, and then we'll move on to these questions. So let's go for 0.73 times by 1,000. So we're going to write 0.73. We're going to move our decimal point 1, 2, 3 times. So 1, 2, 3 times to there. And then we've got 0.73 times 1,000. We've got to put in a gap filler here with a 0. This 0 disappears. So we don't need to write this one. It just evaporates. Effectively, just disappears. So our answer to 0.73 times 1,000 is 730, because the decimal point's been moved 3 times. Now, for times by 10,000, we'll just move it 4 times. Times by a million, we move it 6 times. Times by a billion, we move it 9 times. And all it is really is just moving your decimal point. So have a little go at these next questions and see if you can get them correct. Then you can check the answers with the videos.